We are going live. It's Sunday. Could it be morning? Could it be afternoon? We don't know. We're gonna get on it. Come on in here, see what we got going on. I'm not gonna be on here as long because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do a long day as I did yesterday. But I'll be on here for a little while today, though. See what we got. Everything's set up. So we're gonna get this thing set up. Okay, we're gonna start this one up real quick. Get this thing going. We're doing this thing live today. We're gonna be on here. We're gonna see if anybody comes through. I know it's one of here. We are here. Anybody thought otherwise? We're here. Just a matter of time when people come through. So see what we got. Sometime with the screening, so it's all a matter of time. Live and in color. See what we doing. Okay. So we'll be on. I'll give it a little while today. We'll see what kind of vibe we got. See what we're working with. Let's see what we're working with today. See if we get any conversation today. We'll see what's going on out here in cyber world. See what we got. What's up? Oh, okay. 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 You got eyes now. What you gotta say? What you gotta say? Yeah, I thought about you. Mm-hmm. See, I told you that's not a good series for them. What's happening? I told you that wasn't a good series for Golden State. I tried to tell you. And quiet as it's kept, Rich, I'm gonna tell you a story. If you really want, if you want to know a story, Jimmy Butler would have been good in Houston too, because if Jalen Green don't score, that would have been that'd have been another gift. That's what they're missing. If they had, oh man, look, not really. I'm doing all right. How you doing? Not really, because they can't beat. How you doing? They can't beat them. It's not a good. It's not a good matchup. Houston is everything that Jimmy Butler's style would have been working with. It's a tough matchup for Golden State. If Steven Adams plays half as good, they got the size, they can wear him down. This is where they're going to miss Klay Thompson. I'm telling you, they're going to miss Klay. They're going to miss Klay. Welcome everybody that's coming through. Thank you. The Diddy poll, the case starts tomorrow. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that's got a lot to say about it. I'm going to probably be keeping up on it, of course, because it's a very intriguing case of who's who or who's not. Hello, how you doing? Appreciate everyone coming through today. How are you doing? Good to see you on this Sunday. They beat them. Yeah, but the momentum then shifted. And let's keep it 100. They should have beat them in game four. They should have beat them in game four. They were very lucky that that went it like it did. I'm telling you, is physical. Udoka knows how to play against Curry. I'm telling you, it's just a little bit of a nudge here or there. Remember, he's one game better than he was in Boston when they lost in the finals. But Draymond's older. I'm telling you, Golden State doesn't. And why Kamingas ain't playing? I don't know what Steve Kerr is waiting on. They're gonna really have to play at a half court way, and they got to find a way where Houston can't smother them and get physical. But Fred VanVleet is looking like 2019 Fred VanVleet. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a tough matchup for Golden State. I'm just saying. And I don't like Golden State playing Minnesota next because this is a wear and tear right here. And Minnesota's a better version of a better version of Houston right now. So with the sizes and guys, not the defense per se, but the sizes and the guys. So if you are a Golden State fan, you might want to bow out because it's not. It don't look it's going to end well. Just saying. Two of the series that I wanted to go Game 7. One of them didn't go. Three of them went anyway. Hey, how you doing? I'm not that far from you. I am not that far from you. Isle of White. What's up with you? Actually, I've gone there to visit, and I enjoyed myself. I got to go sometime soon. Great town, great place. Yeah, you've heard of it, right? You familiar with it, right? 2 hours away. Well, I have I have yeah, okay, I'm just saying. My wife, family here and stuff like that. So, it's a cool place. It's cool. It's different. It's cool. I like the scenery. But I will share this with you. You got more sidewalks between there and Portsmouth than there are here. No, I'm vegetarian, dude. Vegetarian vegan, as you must know. I only eat the chips. I don't eat no meat. I haven't done Southampton yet. I've done Portsmouth. Portsmouth is quite an interesting place. It's a military base. It's quite a place. But I did like that walk up to that mall area. That sidewalk is nice. I mean, if you do that straight stride once you get off the white link, then it's real cool. All over. Lived in the East Coast, West Coast, North to South. I did all 4 time zones. Originally from upstate New York, then I lived in Texas and Virginia, so I spent quite a bit of time living on the West Coast, mid all over. I covered all of America time zones. I did it before there was social media, so that was a whole different time. Like if you go to certain parts of the states, you would have clothing was different, music was different. There was a different vibe. People who come up, if you're 25 and under, you ain't gonna even imagine not seeing everything at once. Oh, good, that's cool. Okay, you get that. Okay, Connecticut is real nice too. That's cool. Yeah, it's ain't nothing wrong with that. None at all. Nothing wrong with that. Well, you're blessed. Okay. I have never even been to that part. Been like we've been central because we did the Mad Hatter Norwalk. Okay, stayed in the midsection. See, I haven't even properly met no one from there that. No, I mean, you make health choices. I mean, see, you can't. Again, I went through different food and it stopped hitting to me, but I feel better. I feel energy. Yeah, but that ain't what they promote in America. And it's funny because when you go to another country, a lot of that stuff that they promote in the States ain't sanctioned. That's a whole nother story. That's how you get viruses and sicknesses and stuff because a lot of that stuff is chemical and you have to take it upon yourself to read yourself. Oh, well, you go somewhere. Well, the texturization is the texturization. Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said before, there's a lot of that stuff that with the food that's just not, that's what you got RFK Jr. trying to act like he's doing right now. He's trying to talk about it. Okay, I tell you what, add this to your to the follow me and hit me up on Facebook. Yeah, hit me up on Facebook. Is Jacob Isaac your is that your real name? Because if that's your real name, I can look you up on Facebook when I'm done with the conclusion. And then I'll add you tonight. You'll know it's me. Yeah, it's a fact. That's not no lie. That's a fact. The food is different. The portions aren't as big as they do. What social media do you have? Because that way I can contact you. Or you can send me can you send me email? Can you send me my email is on my page. If you add on, it links through. Yeah, okay. Can you send me email the link? Yeah. Yeah, if you give me yeah, either way, because it should say my Yahoo account and you should be able to I've had people do that from here that they connected because of that. Send me a personal message. And that way once I get it, then I will write down and you give me your number on that and then we can go from there. I appreciate that. Yeah, that would be cool. Cause we haven't met nobody that just straight up that I met. No. What did all the beaches up here? Haven't done a lot of that. But if you got good recommendations, holla. Yeah. Yeah, I got WhatsApp. And I'll give you, well, when we do the exchange, I'll give you the number in there. Then you can hit me up with a message because I do a lot of WhatsApp. This will be cool. This will be real cool. Okay. I got, gotta remember that. Okay. I'll remember. I'm gonna write that down. Out of Sicily. All right, that sounds cool. Nah, I don't drink. I don't drink. I just a bottle of water, dude. Uh, nah, no, no juices and stuff like that. But like I said before, studying thing. Um, Not part of my thing. That's not my thing. I'm not what you call your trademark adult. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't like meat, don't like to curse. I'm kind of a square in a lot of ways. I'm cool with that. Just turned over a different leaf and my life feels better for it. And that's one of those things I can explain even better in person. So there's certain things I don't do. So um, that's all. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you coming through. And we will be in touch though. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. But I like vegetarian, vegan food. And I get enough good proteins, veggie burgers, pizza, I do I just, it's just things I don't do. That's all. But it's all good though. Appreciate you. Hello, how you doing? Thank you for coming through. Where you coming from today? Portia. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate everyone that's coming through today too. Feel free to hit the likes, hit that poll up. The poll is doing really well. 50-50. Okay. Okay, from NYC. Okay. How's life there right now? Tell me what's going on in New York. I used to way back in the day upstate New York. Well, thank you. I mean, I just enjoyed that the fact that you chose to be on here live. But tell me about yourself though. You got a cool name too. I heard about the rats there. Now I actually heard about the rats there. Yeah, I keep it honest. What about yourself? I keep it honest. What's your story? Oh, for what happened, if you don't mind me asking. But you faithful though. You go visit? Man, to get 48 in Rutgers is crazy because that's not no Fed time either. That's state. That's real. Rutgers is no joke. Oh, that's respect. That's respect tenfold. You saw the poll I took. You think Diddy? Okay, now all due respect to your man, Diddy. You think Diddy's done? I hear you. I think OKC can win it, but Denver. It should be a 7 game series. You still get yours. I hear you though. I hear you. I hear you. You got kids and everything. What's your story? I think this is a live stream. That's what's going on. And different conversations are going on. I think the Nuggets should feel like they can win the series, though. Jokic got to find a way to get Chad Hogan out the way, and then SGA is going to be a problem. I think it should be a classic battle, though. I don't think it's going to be easy. If any of those teams just walk through the other one, then somebody's overrated. But it's the MVP battle. It's everything on the line. I think OKC, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think it should be a 7 game series, at least 6. But I think OKC is the best team I've seen. Denver's too inconsistent. Oh, okay. Okay. You from New York all your life? I'm too selfish. I love travel too much. Oh, you're on vacation. Okay. Oh, from Brooklyn. I had an aunt born there though. And that was before gentrification. That's back when Brooklyn was stone cold black and it was ashy. It's a trip when I see how they gentrified Brooklyn. Brooklyn has changed. Yeah, that's why I was asking the question because it's all coming to view. It's gonna be real interesting. I wonder if LeBron's gonna be on there. 'Cause he did say nothing like a Diddy party. Oh, what's up, Calvin Jack? Oh, sliding the family stone on the blowout. Glad to have you back. Yeah, sliding the family stone. Not too many people are gonna be sliding the family stone, just so you know. Not too many. And I like Rolls Royce for what they did, but they're not seeing slide. There's not too many people seeing slide. But thank you, KJ. Glad you're back. So this is gonna be a good day because I got a lot of people coming through today from different backgrounds, different flavors. So this is a good day. This made me feel good to be on the day because yesterday I bit the dust. And I did have views, but I didn't have as much action. But today, this is definitely so. You from Barbados, so where else have you traveled? Since you mentioned that, appreciate your sentiment, KO. Appreciate you coming through. Yes, it's a good day. Thank you. Hope you're having a good day too. As I give a nice shout out to people, no matter where you are in the world, could it be Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, could be Monday morning. Thank you for coming through. I feel like I am on a news broadcast, and this is the podcast, and everything is great. So appreciate everyone that takes the time to come through. As you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here. Thank you, Black Truckers. That sounds like a personal problem. That sounds like a personal problem. Yeah, I had talked about that. He wants to star in it. He did the Dolomite movie. I don't know about being George Clinton. I don't know. This is one of those kind of things I wish it had happened like 25, 30 years ago. I don't know. And there's too much if you don't get it right about George Clinton, he made some bad suspect business moves. So that's what's up. But anyway, yeah, this is interesting. I got all kinds of people coming through. I'm taking Hall and Notes because I like the songs a bit more because it spoke more to me. But the Righteous Brothers can definitely get them for harmony, and they got great songs too. So, but for me, I think it's got more or less the fact that I listen to more Hall and Notes. But the Righteous Brothers ain't nothing to sneeze at. So to be honest with you, contrary to what some people would think, because much as I listen to Hall and Notes, it's one of them things I would say, let's say 57-43. But the Righteous Brothers ain't nothing to sneeze at, though. I mean, them cats got harmonies, though. Because I can't think of the song right now that they did, but when R. Kelly did, um, if I could turn back hands of time, it was definitely. I hope so, because I'm not believing that he is a Rico. He first of all, to pull that off is crazy enterprise, and second of all, he come across too diddly dumb to be that ingenious. And I know good and well he ain't that smart. He had smart advisors and people around him, but ain't no way in the world you run that kind of enterprise. Not when his mouth be all poked out and he look like he lost. So I'm just waiting for it to really drop. So yeah, they got to knock some dream. They got to name drop. Clive Davis, all that. I'm not buying that. It's one of them situations. Yes, he's guilty of something, but is he guilty of the totality of what they're trying to say? I don't know. Hello, how you doing? B-Lo boys. Now, where is that coming from? Jody Wiley. Because Shalimar Era and Solo. I like Jill Jones, and Jill Jones can sing. Jill Jones don't have no track record to mess with Jody though. You got to be a big Prince head to even say that. Now, I will say this: Jill Jones had as much of a hand in a lot of Prince's work and things, kind of like Jody with Leon Silvers. I'll give you that angle because her voice in on some stuff. But if I'm going by the career, that's the difference. I think it's the soul of it. I think it's the way that they harmonized it. She's Gone definitely has that kind of put me in the front mind of Atlantic Rhythm section. There's a couple Blue Eyed Soul, which was it was the way they hit that note. How you doing, Mr. Thomas? Thanks for coming through. That R. Kelly, it was more girls, and well, they used a different double jeopardy with him, which they shouldn't have, because he's actually got overcharged. If I'm looking at the cases, they are differently. Uh, Hell should be out in about 5 or 10 with a caveat. Diddy should be looking at a 15. I don't see their cases similar at all. They're going to be made to be similar with the RICO Act and all the situation. But Diddy's situation is worse because what's happened? Because if they got anybody that was induced or something like that, it's a bit different. It's a bit different. First of all, if you're going by your first time offenses too, that's a bit extreme with trying to push, 15 to 30. Just saying, even though it's federal, it's still a bit extreme. So I read it as that there's more going on than what's going on. And somebody wants to wash their hands of them. not based on justice. I'm not saying they not did nothing wrong, cause let me not even go there. But the R. Kelly thing is very suspect. They had a better chance 20 years ago. And Diddy too, but it's different situations. But they both was messing with the people's money. R. Kelly wanted to get his publishing and Sony had been robbing him. And this is what's up. And I can say that because he been around long enough where his masters or something would reverberate back to him. Because 12 Play, the album, is over 30 years old. So you got to figure came out in 93. So about another 3 years, he'd get the masters back. So you got to figure. And there's a lot of money being made off of him. You know, he's what I call a cat who had like a blank check to write songs. He just didn't have no say. So they got him where they want him. And this is payback. He asked to see the books. And did he mess with the liquor? Because whoever held onto that cassette video was taking on that tape. So that was letting me know right there they had this thing orchestrated. Takedowns in two different ways. So that's my thoughts and takes on that. But yeah. 50-50 with the Diddy. That's interesting. 50-50 so far. Appreciate one that's coming on though. I know it's gonna be very split. But I do believe there's gonna be a lot of names. Ooh. And I was listening to Barry White today too. For me, personally, Barry White. I love Mayfield's a guitarist and I love his soundtrack stuff, but I mainly love his soundtrack stuff and the stuff he did with the impressions. I like his songwriting. But Barry White arrangements can hang, vocals can hang, production can hang, and he was a little bit more versatile with what he did. But Mayfield was bad though. It's a heavyweight fight, and it's a good fight. I'm gonna write that down though for a future one because I know I've listened to more Barry White, and I did listen to a lot of Mayfield. I really have because I love, like I said, his soundtrack stuff is what I like more than anything. I think Mayfield carries more weight with more people because of the guitar playing and the songs and stuff like that. But if you Barry White, excuse me, was bad though. I mean, he was bad. He had some full string arrangements. He had some grooves. He was bad. You know, I hate it when trolls come on. So you know what I got to do with the trolls? Take your butt on out of here because we don't do trolls. You got to go. It's fitting that he was. Because he gave one of the greatest performances ever on Soul Train history when he performed back in the 70s and he had his live orchestra on stage, which was on, to perform live on Soul Train because of all the costs, but he did it, you know. Love Unlimited was a bad band. I mean, he had some great work. Those arrangers with Gene Page, I loved them. And that's a good question. That's a strong question because he didn't ask about Barry White and Curtis Mayfield. I'm going to put that in one of my videos. That's a good question because that's a heavyweight. And he was really, had a distinctive voice. He was holding it down. He was holding it down. Yep. And I used to always watch his interviews too. I mean, I love to hear him. He would talk about the industry. He said real stuff, you know. He said it was a dangerous business. Marvin, because overall I take Marvin. Now, asking me about songwriting is Smokey and a Blowout. But then when I get into the vocals, I gotta go Marvin. Production, Marvin. Marvin got him beat for me, except for songwriting. That's why Smokey's always in the conversation. He can write incredible songs. It's just that as an artist on a totality, and they were good friends too. They were best of friends, but Marvin. I have different criterias for when I have these debates because sometimes people get a hard time trying to decipher. It's always I can find a criteria to make it happen. So, but I like them both a lot. I mean, like I said before, Smokey's songwriting is second to none. Are you kidding me? Come on now. Of course, it's Marvin. You cool, but come on now. That's not even up for discussion. Maxwell would have to have like made 5 albums of Urban Hang Suite and about 10 versions of Fortunate. He ain't touching no Marvin Gaye. And he peaked pretty quickly too. He peaked pretty quickly. You asking me the wrong person against Marvin Gaye. The wrong person. There's an artist from the 90s that I would say you could make a case against. That ain't it. Um, on your face because I like the melodicness of it. I like the arrangement of it. I think the groove was nice. Take me to the next phase. I like the groove and the build up, even though it makes me think of Sly and the Family Stones. Thank you for letting me be myself again. In fact, they actually incorporate some of the riff and the groove in there. It's funky and it bops, but on your face feels a certain way. Puts me in a certain frame of mind because the arrangements and the vocals. But two good choices and my two all time favorite bands. My one and two. So all right, 59% saying they care about the diddy diddy diddy. Yeah. We're definitely getting some crazy good numbers today. Everything's looking really good. Good questions, good polling. Appreciate everybody stepping through today. This is a great day. Mhm. Which one? I heard the rocket they had with they did a rocket a couple years ago and they did a record with Santana, and then they got something else out which was okay, nothing special. I don't go really thinking that there's going to be anything that's going to be that memorable. You know, I think they pretty much did their last real good stuff with R. Kelly. If I'm honest, they try to modernize some things. Some things work. You know, she's always in my hair. Come on now, and the Dangerous album. That's not a good song to put up against Prince. And the thing about it, the Dangerous song, I do know he got the drums from Word Up by Cameo because he definitely shook that beat off of it. It didn't really. It was a bit long, and it didn't really. I think it needed to go somewhere. The groove need to go somewhere. I like the beats and I like, but it just didn't go nowhere. She's always in my hair was always, to be honest with you, she's always in my hair should have been on Around the World in a Day. Because that song alone, this knocked out about 80% of that album. But She's Always in My Hair was a cut. That came out 40 years ago, and I remember listening to it and taped it off the radio. Yeah, it would make me say it again. I think they did had something like that from way back in the day. But yeah, that's one of my favorite B-sides of Prince's. Because I'm really shot from Raspberry Beret. That's the only song that could really rival She's Always in My Hair. I like Pop Life, but She's Always in My Hair got almost every song that made that album beat. Yeah, it's that good. It made me say it again, girl. That was a original album they came up with. I remember back in the day, though. But I like their older stuff. So, all right. Let's keep it going. We got some good vibe going on here today, so let's keep it going. I like the feel that we got here. We're there for 40 minutes. It feels good. When I get a live stream like this is perfect. The poll numbers are great. The likes are great. Okay, glad you're back. Where you coming from today, too, Mr. Thomas? Appreciate you coming through. No, well, no, Chris Jasper, the keyboardist died. Jasper was bad though. State of shock. Only thing I like about Under Pressure is the groove. I don't really like the song. I like the ding 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 because I don't think the song State of Shock had a kick and butt feel because actually it complements Detroit City. It had a nice kick butt feel, which actually it sounded like it's like one of the best songs the Stones didn't do, and that's why it worked. And yet it had a funky undercurrent to it, and I like the stank of the guitar. Uh, the long version was cool. But I think if Michael had a song with Freddie Mercury in the original, it was even better. But that's a lot of political politics to make them go solo. Yeah, only thing I liked about Under Pressure was like ding, 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 ding. You know, it was Bowie and Queen. That's what Under Pressure was, not Mick Jagger. And ironically, originally it was going to be Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury to do State of Shock because I heard both versions. That's the irony of it. So, but anyway. Mm. Okay. Appreciate the thing come along. Thank you for coming through. They got some definitely getting some good, like I said, good vibes today. This is a bonanza. Wow. Oh, I don't care about that. I mean, most artists are weird. The more successful. But boy, at that time he was versatile, but that wasn't the cut for me. That wasn't my Bowie cut. I like some of his 80s stuff, obviously, but I like his 70s, mid 70s the best. You are a Prince head. Um, International level. Because Morris Day on the drums alone. I did like I Want My Girl. You remember the first on the first album, the Prince's first album, In Love? And go part goes, ooh, ooh, ooh. There's a part in it, and I want my girl. That's where he got that little chorus run from Prince's song "In Love." If you listen to "In Love," it goes, ooh. There's a little harmony part that Prince does. It's in there, and Jesse used that for "I Want My Girl." And I did like "I Want My Girl." That was a cool song, and it came out with a decent solo rucker. But nah, he's not gonna get international. That's not gonna be for the look. Even though International Lover is kind of like comical, it's such a it's Prince just really he always made a joke out of his slow jams. And he was Eric Ego, it was hilarious. That was a funny song. Well, thank you, Wendy. How are you? Where you coming from? Glad to have you today. Thank you. Yeah, the song "In Love." Listen to the song "In Love." Because Prince got this part goes, "In love." It goes, ooh. There's this thing that he does with his voice. And then you listen to Jesse Johnson's "I Want My Girl." Well, of course, they nudged off everybody, but I'm just saying there's a part in there. Channel Islands X. Okay. Well, I'm glad you came through. Welcome aboard. Feel free to participate. And if you got any questions, we're talking about a wide range. We're doing music, beauty trials. Some people want to talk sports. Some want to talk about where they're from. So feel free. I'm here for, I think I'll be here for another hour because this thing's going so good. Yeah, I think I'll go for another hour. And I welcome it. So thank you for coming through. Their song together, because I'm familiar with them as artists, not their song together. Of course, I didn't listen to Eric Clapton forever and a day. Not the biggest fan of him personally, and I think he's a bit overrated as a musician, but that's another story. I do respect his old work with the his guitar parts. Tracy Chapman, I've been known since the '80s, so I think they did something together. But you know, yeah, that was a big song. I had that tape, and of course, I had Fast Car and everything like that. He was a good songwriter. Yeah, that was pretty much his first breakout moment, unless you watched him on Sesame Street before that. That was his breakout. Okay, yeah, I think they did. I think I did hear about it, but I didn't really pay no mind because, like I said before, I ain't the biggest Eric Clapton fan, and I think it was gonna be one of them kind of songs that they would play on adult contemporary, which would be kind of not up my. Listen, this is a good one. Get it up, cause Uptown, I like the bass and I like the pocket, but I think he improved it better when he did it for Let's Work. It was inspired by the Rolling Stones' "Miss You." Because if you listen to Uptown, and the groove, Andre Simone came up with the bass. So that was inspired by "Miss You," which later became for "Let's Work." Because "Dirty Mind" and "Controversy" are kind of one A and one A if you listen to the sounds of what he did. "Get It Up." A funny story about "Get It Up." Originally, the band, the dad, not Brick was originally supposed to Get It Up. Brick, who did Daz. So I couldn't imagine disco to Get It Up with that synthesizer because it didn't sound like. But they ended up working with Ray Parker Jr. for "Sweat Till You Get Wet." So that's for Detroit City. But I'm taking "Get It Up" though. The synthesizers and the groove was cold on that, and that groove made Prince sound kind of milky because his funk didn't. They really stunk it up for that. So "Get It Up," I got it over Uptown, and I did like Uptown, but it's kind of stagnant. It's kinda stagnant. It didn't because he improved it. He was raw with it, but then he got it tight when he did "Let's Work." Oh, yeah, most of us do. You see, it's funny what they call heavy metal because some of the artists, it all depends on what they call, but at the end of the day, music is music. That's how I look at it. Duke Ellington, who was one of my all-time favorite artists ever, once said, "It's music, good or it's bad." And you start putting labels behind it, you're trying to shorten it, and you're also trying to cheapen it to an extent because then You can't just call it jazz. You got to call it acid house jazz. And love the bass. That was actually one. That was his Minneapolis sound and effect. The keyboard horns, um, the guitar, the way he did the pocket with the drum, the way he would play the drums sometimes backwards and forwards. His tone was in it. That and DMSR. That to me was his peak in his prime as a producer. To me, that was peak and prime of him as a producer. That was the Minneapolis sound in its full essence right there, that era. The Jamie Starr, that was him at his baddest right there. Because he really had that edge. Old school know what I'm talking about. Any people know what I'm talking about. And I know some people gonna come and say, well, he did do this after that. No. To some people, Purple Rain was the Moses, the pardon of the sea. And then of course they're the ones who love Sign of the Times. I'll give you that. But if you ask folks who was really that Prince, that raw, that groove, that the trifecta was Dirty Mind Controversy in 1999. He got his sound together, his groove together, his voice. He was on point with it. After that, there were moments and there's things I like. You know I'm a big Rick James fan. Um, what I would listen to out those two, probably You Bring the Freak Out of Me more. I like Girls and Boys for that Obi, and I like how it grew. I liked it, but okay, respect to you. I'm 55, but you got me beat by that's all good. I love it. Thank you for coming on. But I gotta say, You Bring the Freak. I like the new wave vibe of it. It sounded more modernized. Prince sounded like he was old. I'm gonna tell you something. I wasn't the biggest fan of that Parade album. To me, he was doing a double Junior Whopper version of Kid Creole and the Coconuts. If you ever listen to Kid Creole and the Coconuts, they did that whole thing that Prince, Wendy, and Lisa were doing, but they did it one step a notch. So if you ever familiar with August Darnell and Kid Creole and the Coconuts, listen to their records. You know, Carolyn was a dropout. Listen to them drums. Prince was listening to a lot of Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Even Eric Leeds was huge on him, so were Wendy and Lisa. That's where he got a lot of that idea for that flower era around the world today in Parade with mixed results. When he had them in the background and certain things he did. I like Girls and Boys more so at the time. I probably listen to You Bring the Freak Out more now though. Because actually the Cold Blood album was kind of underrated. He modernized himself with the synthesizers. He went for more of a traditional sound Rick James did. And I did like Girls and Boys, but I think You Bring the Freak Out. It's kinda random too, but if I was playing both them songs, because Girls and Boys, I gotta be in a certain mood for, it kinda drags a little bit. I like the old sax and the bass on it, but I gotta be in the kinda mood for it. I really do, you know? He was trying to be real artsy with it, and mixed results. I wasn't crazy about the flower era of him. Sign of Times got me back for a moment, and then after that, it was hit and then a lot of miss. So I can honestly say after 88, me and Prince from 88 onward, I could take or leave. Live, that was another story. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I wasn't that big on the Madhouse records. I thought it sounded like Mike Hammer music. I remember I was on Questlove's I Can See Very Well. And if you're gonna come address me, come correct. Endicott was a cold bass jam, and he had um Eddie on the drum. Don't do no vulgar, and you got to go. Don't do that on here. That's one time too many. Yeah, Endicott was a cold jam. Yeah, and sometimes the parade album, the thing about it was I thought it was a bit he was trying different things and some of it worked, some of it didn't. I think he had probably one good album in there if he had a combined Romance 1600, that family album. I think there's something in there Prince had. He put like She's Always in My Hair with Raspberry Beret, A Love Bazaar, Screams of Passion, Dance Electric. Yeah, you'd have a strong EP, but I think he put himself On the Madhouse record, I think I like the first cut all right. The second cut kind of groove made me think of Another Level Holding Head with that drum pattern. 6 was decent. I like 8. It was kind of cute. It was some things I like, but he ain't no jazz cat, not like that. He's a cat that could be versatile to play styles, but if he was singled out to doing styles, it sounded like he was trying too hard. So that was a mixed. I had mixed things with Prince with doing that. I like when he did his hybrid thing. I thought when he would go in a little bit and then like when he would come out a little bit, like when you listen to Irresistible, for instance, that bass and that rap was cool because he wasn't trying to. But then when you hear him years later doing the flow or my name is or something like that, or get when he's doing it, it's contrived. Whereas when it just kind of comes in, and I know Terry Lewis had a lot to do with a girl answers don't hang up with that bass line, but it worked, without him trying so hard, if you follow what I'm saying. Because that's one of the problems I had with Prince. That's why he could be hitting cold because if he really went at a theme, it's like, here we go. This is a good one right here. I got to give it to Pat LaBelle because something about that song just still hits. It's just so smooth, and I love the way it phrases out. I love the way it just rides itself out. Now that is one of Sade's best songs, and I can listen to it a lot. But there's something about the way Pat LaBelle layered it because she didn't oversing and she stayed in the pocket, and it worked out really nicely. And I don't say that about a lot of her solo stuff. I got mixed emotions about her as an artist. I'm not the biggest Sade fan either because on Sade vocals to me, but her songs were tight. And I have a lot of respect for the fact to me that Sade is one of the few artists that could do what Michael Jackson did and take 15, 20 years off and drop an album and people lose their mind. Well, I understand. I understand. I do like the song, but it's that Patti LaBelle soulful for me. It just hit me with the soul. That's all. Because Your Love is King is a smooth vibe and I like it. But Patti LaBelle, for that vocal run she did, and again, sometimes to me she would oversing. It's funny. It's funny. Patti LaBelle gets penalized for her vocal runs, but Mariah Carey got a pass. Go figure. I'm gonna say about it. But I like them both a lot. It's close. It's one of them, I'd say it's one of those 52-48 things where I give LaBelle, just slight. But I do like Your Love is King. It's just that some about, yeah. And the funny story is this. You having to pick one of the few songs by Patti LaBelle's solo career that I really like, because there's about 2 or 3 that I really like. Any other time, I would have picked Sade. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. It really is. And I can say it too. It cracks me up. Okay. Tell me that. Tina Marie was bad. Um, Not the love of holding your head for the bass line. The only thing I liked about the stick was the chord progression because Lisa Coleman actually co-wrote that. She did the chords, and I like how that started out. Words, I like how it started, but then it kind of went on about 2 minutes too long. Not love of holding your head, especially the long version. That bass playing, which Prince was channeling, yes, as owner of a lonely heart. I like how he used that groove. If you listen to that groove in there, and I like the groove of it, you know. And he definitely got a lot out of it. And he also took from Bill Withers, "Get Your Foot on the Rock." He got that from Bill Withers too. So he used a good mix of two. The Stick was cool, but it wasn't like one of those, I think I like Lisa Coleman's chord progressions, but it wasn't really what I call a fleshed out song, like written wise. It was a groove. That's what they was about. That's that whole thing. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And we got a lively one here today. This is great. 20 poll people reaction. So it's really full. I'm glad this here is what I'm talking about. This here makes me want to go live. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, you didn't. You said the stick. You didn't say the walk. What's happening? How you doing? You said the. You said the stick. They got it better with the walk. The walk was a tight one. I'll give you that. The stick, like I said, aside from Lisa Coleman's chord progression, it kind of dried up. It was tight, and then it didn't really bend. But the walk, that was funny, and it was a nod to Richard Pryor because I love when he did "Ta-da, we're gone." He did Richard Pryor's Mudbone voice, Morris and Prince. That was hilarious. You tell he was a big Richard Pryor fan. You can't walk with them baggies on. I was cracking up. There was a lot of funny in there, you know. Prince was definitely a big Richard Pryor fan. Boston. Cause that early Boston with that synthesis, that rush was no joke. Asia Heat a Moment was a catchy 80s pop song. It's kind of like when I listen to the outfield. And it's cool. You can bop, you do your little head dance. But Boston had something when it first came out. Cause that engineer, that dude really had a distinctive sound. I think if I'm not mistaken, DJ Quick worked with the cat that worked with Boston. I think he did. That's how I learned him how to work them boards. Cause that was the thing about Boston's that the cat came up with that sound he came up with. Musically, it was kinda there, and actually it was kinda like a fast version of Louie Louie, kinda like what Nirvana did with Teen Spirit, and More Than a Feeling channeled that chord progression, but it was that burst. They had this sound that just had such a burst. I picked up on it, so this is a good question, though. So you're trying to catch it. I always tell people from back in the day because there's certain acts and groups that you mention. It's like, wow. And mention Asia. No one ever talks about Asia. Boston gets love, but for people who know, but no one ever mentions Asia. The vocals were kind of like a reminiscent of America too for me a little bit. Because it sounded like something America would have done. Because if you put horse with no name and heat of the moment, and I used to, again, that's one of them songs you got to go back 40 years ago to listen to. Because I didn't bump Asia hardcore, but that song was big when I was back in the day. But Boston, that thing still has legs. Okay, so we're off to a great start. Things have been fantastic today. Wow. Appreciate everyone taking the poll and everyone coming through and keep on hitting them likes up. I think today I might actually crack 10 likes. Poll numbers are doing good. Well, it's because when the heat of the moment makes me think about some of the songs that America did. But okay, let me take you forward to the 80s. Remember, You Can Do Magic because it had that clean pocket. You hear that groove, there's that sound. Just the harmony in the way they layered stuff. That was real popular too. Clean Pocket, John Cougar. And I did have that Brian. I had both those tapes. I liked it at the time for Brian Adams. I liked him more at the time, kinda corny middle of the road in hindsight, but it was decent at the time. I mean, it was cool. But John Cougar, Jack and Diana had some edge to it. I like the drums and the claps. Little ditty about Jack and Diane going up in the heartland. Life goes on. Yeah, and before Diddy, there was John Cougar, John Mellencamp. I liked him, but I gotta give it to John Cougar for that one. I used to listen to Bryan Adams for a moment. I had that Reckless album. I like, like I said, I liked him for a moment. I think because when Michael McDonald, I think with Michael McDonald was that's the thing. They kind of became like his backing band, and they kind of got forgotten. That's the reason. Um, they were a good band, but Michael McDonald made them, and then it became. And when that took off, they became the Doobie Brothers. They were just the Doobie Brothers. Yeah, but that's the problem with him. He had crazy success because before Shania Twain, he was the Canadian cat, and before Celine Dion, yeah, nice middle of the road. He had that disco song back in '79 too, which a lot of people don't ever talk about with Brian. And he a little bop in him with that one. But uh, you know, I liked him back in the day. Like I said, and he been crazy successful. hmm Had kind of career. hmm I remember. I remember very well. He part of Team Bop. And then, the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves that Kevin Costner did that with Rod Stewart and Sting. He had songs. I mean, the guy had a career. It's just that it kind of milk toast. I kind of lost interest after a while. It got corny for me. I liked it, but then it got kind of stale. But I don't knock nobody. I liked him. Like I said, I understand. It's not one of them situations where I don't understand because I was one of those people that like that, that reckless. And then, I remember the stuff he did. And he had the one in '87. He came out, you know, but in hindsight, I'd probably say middle of the road cat. For me, be like a third tier cat, just keeping it 100. Because I don't look at him as a heavy hitter, and he got a good enough voice and good enough sound. Uh, Production was cool, but I you know not something that I cold to. Yeah, yeah. Roxanne. And I did like Jesse's Girl because Rick Springfield was happening with that. And I do groove it. I do groove it. It was catchy and I like the chorus and I like the guitar break, but Roxanne is like one of them songs that, the storytelling, it just takes a life of its own. And it hit hard. And they did that thing, they did their take on ska and they made that thing work. We loved the Police was like them. That's the only Police I like too, by the way, in the world, just so you know. If everybody was like all the police departments were like Sting and them, then I wish to dig the Police. But Jesse's Girl was catchy though. He had a little something going for about I want to say for about a year or two. He had a little something, you know. But Rick Springfield thing came and went. But it was cool for a moment. Yeah, it was the like I said, it's a iconic song. Wrote a classic song and wrote some catchy songs with the Police. The Police were my favorite '80s UK band or act in the '80s. The Police. That's not up for discussion. You gotta come up with someone better in the UK as far as a group band. That's not it. And Madness had a couple songs I like. Probably take Madness on that. Madness on that. To different levels though. Andy Stewart Copeland because he did jazz. As a matter of fact, he had a special. He did. I forgot what it was for. It was some kind of forgot the film, but it was pretty good. The cat can play, and he was cool. I like the cars. Shake it up, dance so nice. Yeah, I like Rick Ocasek. They was cool. They were doing their new wave bop thing. They were cool. There's some songs I like. You might think I'm delirious, but all I want to, that was some real pop music back then. That was real pop, and it was cool. Rick Ocasek was cool. They was cool. You know, you name me X that I can tell you that I like. I got no problem with them. Not at all. What's happening? Appreciate everybody coming through. I like the music one. Yeah, they had some real catchy songs. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Th- That's why I was saying he could play. There you go. Cause he did this soundtrack or something. It was nice. Annie Lennox was cool. And David Stewart, I like that thing. She got a lot of her stuff from oh God, what am I not thinking about her from the UK? Oh God. It'll come to me. She was nominated in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's where Annie Lennox got a lot of her stuff from. Um, because I like her a lot. I'm just not thinking about it right now. Oh, David Stewart, they were catchy. Had good stuff. Oh, I'm taking the Eurythmics. I mean, Berlin was good, but the Eurythmics had that kind of niche on lock. The synth pop, the that vibe, I liked it a lot. The Eurythmics had that on lock. Because Sweet Dreams was a cold song. That synthesized, which I do think inspired Prince's When Doves Cry, one of the songs I think, had to be listening to what they did. And David Stewart had a good ear, commercial ear. He had a good commercial ear. So I'm taking the Eurythmics, you know. But I can't think of her name. Why am I not thinking of her right now? She's one of the most she's one of the most talented British female artists ever. 70s, and I can't think of right now. Why my name not coming to me right now? Damn, I have to cheat. Do I want to cheat on this? I gotta think. Because I don't want to cheat. I want to get it. I want to call her name out. That's who Annie Lennox got her whole steeds from too. Um, it'll come to me. No, no. She had a big hit in the 70s. She's from the UK. She was a keyboard player, uh, singer songwriter, real artsy, real artsy. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna let my brain work. You keep talking, it'll come to me. Cause it's gotta come to me. I talk about her all the time too. She got inducted into Hall of Fame. So last few years. Uh anyway, I saw this old footage of Annie Lennox and I thought, oh, that's where you got your stuff from her. She's white, British, and she Outcast always talks about her being an influence. She and Prince worked together on Kate Bush. Thank you. Thank you. See, I didn't cheat. Give myself some dap. And I kept racking my brain. Kate Bush. That's who Annie Lennox. So Annie Lennox was part of this group before she got with Dave Stewart. There's a video of it. It came out 78, 79. Anyway, if you ever get a chance to see it, there's an old footage of her. She definitely jacked a lot of for Kate Bush. So there you go. Kate Bush is bad too. But anyway, you gotta be, yeah, appreciate it. Kate Bush got a lot of cold sense stuff, but that's what she got a lot of stuff on. Oh yeah. But I don't know if he discovered her, you wouldn't have had no time for no Annie Lennox because Kate Bush was like that. Probably must have been the Pink Floyd cat, David Gilmour, one of them cats. Yeah. But yeah, because Kate Bush predated Annie and so they would have formed the Eurythmics with that. That would have been wild. Except Annie Lennox was more commercialized than Kate Bush, so yeah, there's a difference there. But yeah, I thank you. I didn't cheat because I was like, why is she not registering right now? And I do talk about Kate Bush. Yeah, David Gilmour. That's a name I ain't heard in ages. I keep getting it mixed up with Black Velvet, but yeah. She had a kind of like a female version precursor to Chris Isaac in a way. It was that kind of tone and vibe. And it just thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, I decided to come on today. We do different things. Sometimes it's just sports related. Today just had to be more music related. Today just went into a different direction. So that's all good. And I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm back on tomorrow too, but today I thought I'd come on. Yeah, I appreciate it. I like it when we because they're tapping into eras that doesn't get talked about, especially by some artists that you don't really hear people converse about. Not that I see, you know. And know what I call, made up believable video of you know. So sometimes people talk about certain artists, but then they don't really go into it. So but this then definitely ran into a whole different direction, which is all good. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, I appreciate everybody that's coming through today with this though. Yeah, you mentioned Yaz. I remember Kirk Cameron who was on Family Pains, Growing Pains, and he used to love Yaz. I remember that. Like Robert Smith, I like some of that synth work back in the day. He was an interesting character. I like some of the Cure. I know people that were bigger fans of them. You know that I can say. There were a lot of those synth pop bands that people were really holding in high regard for different reasons. That was a different day and time. Nowadays, they tell you gotta go look and find people like that. Back in the day, you had those people around you. That's how much things can change. So call it lazy. I don't feel like I have to go look and find you. It's just the industry doesn't promote that kind of music no more. That's what's up. Anyway, we up to 62% against the Diddy, so that's gonna be interesting. Okay. Oh yeah, that's what happened with some of that was part of that, but then some of it was my grandparents, some of it was cousins. It was a different hybrid of stuff. But yeah, I love that music back in the day. I liked it because we could debate. We don't debate no more. You can't debate no more. What you gonna debate? Because everybody's all considered good or great, and they got more ways to get more people all this. It's not the same industry no more. They were bad. Spinning in circles, that spinning with the it was one of those bands that you only appreciate it and when you hear it in different carnation, you know. Yeah, the Cure had some songs. They had some songs. I just wasn't like heavy in them, but I like some of their stuff, you know. I was more into Tears for Fears back then, if you must know, with that out of that kind of scene, you know. But I like the Cure like I did the Depeche Mode, some of that. Yes, it was a tight band. Yeah, they could play. But again, the era they were in was heavy on competition, heavy on talent. And sometimes you can get lost in that mix unless you just have diehard people. It was a very competitive era. Oh, okay. That's cool. I think that, like I said, a lot of the synth bands put that in. The Smiths had love. The Smiths were real popular. I know a couple of cats I knew that loved the Smiths. Depeche Mode had their thing for a moment. They had love too. Yeah, they were, like I said before, you had a that was a British invasion. And I saw that. That 80s British invasion was nothing nice. Now, I don't think that they had the big names like the 60s British invasion did, but they had enough that they were dominant. I'll say that. And I will say this about the 80s British invasion. Were it not for the dominance of Michael Jackson, who was dominant, made no question about it. And then you got Prince, and then you had, I guess you could make a case for Lionel Richie, and you know, because he was bad for what he did. He had he's a songwriter, he was huge, and Whitney. But aside from, and maybe you want to throw Janet in there, but aside from, and I would say Rick James' early part had a bit in there. He had a big head impact. But aside from like a handful of, you know, and I could make a case for Leon Silver production, Jamie Lewis, you know, once we get it. But aside from what if I'm just talking like the artists, aside from probably about 5 or 6 prominent artists or something like that, and if you wanted to throw Springsteen for the pop side, Madonna, you know, 6 to 10, Brits was tearing that butt up as far as the down overall. But really, Michael Jackson was so dominant that but yeah, the sound was on point. They was coming hard because they had, you know, you go from Genesis to Phil Collins' solo career and Peter Gabriel's solo career. And then, of course, Wham! When George Michael's solo career. Then you go with Genesis. I mean, with Phil Collins, and I mentioned Sting solo. Think about it. They was dropping careers, and it was hitting. The Clash came up hard. Morrissey had love, had some fans. Morrissey was popular. Yeah, but my point is, what I was saying is that um, the Brit pop was, if it wasn't for their dominance, they had to have a pretty big dominant because that's how dominant they were because UK had a strong pop sound going. I'm just saying, if it wasn't for that, that's how dominant it was. Yeah, the Clash was bumping, and you had Def Leppard. All I'm saying is, if you're going by the country, they had a lot going on. Yeah, should I stay or should I go? Got crazy play. Casbah got crazy play. They were big. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of competition. That's an era that you just can't even put into words. So the funny thing about Rick Ashley, I was in school, I was in high school, and I remember this black girl, she was in my classroom, Ashley. I never say his name right, but let's just say that white dude with that orange hair, the Richie Rich, the cat who looked like Richie Cunningham from Happy Days. And the black girl was like, who's that white boy sound like that? Because the only equivalent we had at the time that was that young that sounded like him was Johnny Gill. So how that voice coming out that was like, wow. And when he came with "We've been together for some time," you see, and I'm like, it was like, wow, that dude. And that was a good catchy. He had good catchy pop music. So I like it. Tiffany was all right, kind of annoying. I like Debbie Gibson better, but she was catchy for what she did. She was catchy for that time. I remember all that like yesterday. Mick Hucknall, that came out 40 years ago, and Simply Red tore it up. I remember like folks lost their mind. They were in a trance for 6 months behind this redhead that was sounding like that because he had some soul, he had some blues, he had some pain in him. He was a Mac too. That's another story. That's another video. But yeah, Mick Hucknall came out with Holding Back the Years with Simply Red. People were in a trance for more. That's why back in the day, if you was white and you came up with a soulful sound or a voice, people would do a double and a triple take. People was like, "Who's this white boy sound like that? Like this cat has some pipes." I'm just keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100. You come on this channel, I'm not gonna fake the funk. I'm gonna keep it 100 because that's how we was like. It was like, who is this cat? Yeah, he looks Irish. I like Simply Red. They were one of my favorite bands back then. I like them. I like Simply Red. That song just hit though. Manchester, okay. Well, it's like a hybrid. Like he British, the UK, but he looks Irish in the face. So it's like a hybrid. Oh, he look like. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you come on here and we talk this conversation, this definitely, definitely. And I got about another half hour. I'm on here for another 35 minutes, so I'm good. It's been going by so fast. I just like, man, this is great. This is probably one of my best streams in ages, especially that everybody comes on here as a connecting. Yeah, but he's still performing. He did something, still performing. Of course, when you say the gray, I see that with Tears for Fears. That's more noticeable. But they still good though, you know. If your music is good, you can still perform. I mean, that's why I see the Stones still up there on stage. So just take care of yourself. So it's all good. Yeah, if you're holding up. Level 42. Funny thing is, so I was listening to watching Level 42 recently because that's 40 years ago. And I always like Mark King. I like his pocket, I like his voice and his groove. Something about you was a catchy song. I never get tired of it. Puts me in a good mood, takes me back. I didn't really care for You Before doing the Temptations. I thought it was kind of corny, but they could play though. And actually, I caught them before they went all karaoke and did all the cover songs. They weren't that bad. They actually could play. It's just that they had to go corporate and they gonna put some money on them and say, hey, won't you just cover all every song and do this? But yeah, I gotta go live for it too. That was a catchy groove and I like the pocket. 65% is pretty good. Hold me now. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. They were catchy. They were catchy. I kind of put them in the same bag as Simple Minds. Yeah, you know, they're like I said, so much talent back then. And again, if America didn't have like what I call dominant artists that were hitting like they were, the UK was coming because they had. It's just that you didn't have enough groove bands from the UK. It wasn't until really I know Firestar had Little Something, and I had much respect for Junior, but it wasn't until you got to Loose Ends, and you didn't have enough loose ends. Now, if you'd have had Loose Ends battling Soul to Soul, and when you had the emergence of Terrence Trent D'Arby, that could have been a problem. But they never got the R&B thing. Roachfield, Due Respect, the Pasadena's Due Respect. They never got that in check. So it was more, you know, synth white British pop acts. Oh yeah, because that makes me think of all those acts and psychedelic furs. I mean, a lot of those acts were kind of similar, synth pop. Hmm. A lot of those acts were kind of similar around that time period. So they were like, you know, if you listen to one, two of this, you had about 10 others that were like this, and you're kind of like, yeah, shake it down. Come on now. Old Gregory Philip Michael Thomas look at Miami Vice, shake it down was a cut. Now, you better go back to the Billy Ocean nights. I feel like getting down. The funky Billy Ocean, not when he worked with Sly and Robin, not that soft suddenly and all that reject late Coonagane stuff he did where he just was, where he went, which, it paid the bills and it kept his curl fresh, but a funky Billy Ocean is where it's at. But yeah, Gregory Abbott for the dub there. Shake It Down was a catchy song. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That was a cut. And he did it the right way because if you're going to be remembered for one song, get it right. He could, but I like the funky stuff of his better. Nights I Feel Like Getting Down and Stay the Night. That old Billy Ocean funk. That 79, 1980. That's where it's at. Not that old that corny stuff that he was doing to Americanize him. Mm-mm. The going gets tough and all that. Get out of my car, get my drinks. That stuff was corny. But the old stuff of Billy Ocean, that's what was bumping. Nights I Feel Like Getting Down. That's the one I be bumping. I don't want because he did a lot. He did that corny stuff, and it was hard to listen to. Because when I heard his funk, when I heard his grooves, I was like, okay. I know he had to get the bag with Caribbean Queen and um, Loverboy and all that stuff. But some of that stuff was just when you hear his grooves, I'm telling you, that's what I liked about artists back in the day because they had that the before and after. And sometimes when you hear what they were like before, you're like, why did you change? He had some smoking cuts. And he could sing. But, oh yeah, nights I feel like getting down. That was the bump. When you one of them nights, one of them nights you feel like getting down. Mhm. What's happening, Charlene? Well, again, it depends on what era you caught him, you know. And no one ever said he was their favorite. Yeah, it was his biggest crossover, Caribbean Queen, but I'm talking about when before that. I'm talking about that funk side. Stay the Night was a jam. Matter of fact, with Stay the Night, Latoya Jackson did a cover of it. Yeah, I'm talking about that 79, 80 Billy Ocean. Talking about that groove. There'll Be Sad Songs was catchy. I'm not saying it wasn't a good vocal or song, but it's kind of one of them songs that kind of puts me to sleep. And it's kind of like the sleep that John Legend puts me to sleep. Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, you gotta go back and dig. And when you do, you hear that bass that he's working with Sly and Ryde, who worked with Grace Jones. When you hear that bass, you're gonna be like, "What happened to him?" You're gonna be like, "What happened? Did they kidnap him?" Because that Billy Ocean was not the same cat that came out 4 or 5 years later. I'm just saying, just saying. So before you come at me crazy, I'm just saying. You know how you had some artists. That's how some people felt about the Commodores when Lionel Richie left. They said, "What happened?" Because that soul that he emoted. Now he still had good records. I love the Can't Slow Down his first two albums, but the records after that, you know, and he wrote, when you hear Zoom and Just to Be Close to You and all that, don't get it twisted. Love will conquer all. Uh, Love will find a way was the jam. Love will find a way. That was, you know, but it was a different ball game compared, you know. So it happens. But that's one of the good things if you grew up on 70s, early 80s music, because you could hear artists the way they were and then how they flipped. Some of them flipped for some jams, and some of them just flipped for some to cash out. So, these are two corny ones for me, but I gave it to Wayne Chung. Cause let's go. Meet you in a restaurant. Along Comes a Woman felt kind of contrived. And they were a different group. I mean, Peter Cetera, they went and followed with Cool in the Game. They did a complete, like I said, if you don't have no exposure to some of these groups or bands or acts, it's a whole different ballgame when they were, And then when you hear stuff, you're like, oh, wow, really? What? Oh, Hello's a strong song. That's one of the best stalker songs ever. I put that right there with Every Breath You Take. It's a strong stalker song. I got a funny story about that song, too. My grandmother had a white telephone, and that's back when you had an electric, back when you had an extension cord. So I remember in the video when he grabbed that phone and he was all on it. I did the same thing. I had my grandma's phone and I had the long extension cord, and I was like, hello. And I did that. So I always had that moment about that Richie moment. Yeah, I just didn't know there were so many people that were so much into that Billy Ocean song. I tried to run from it because I heard it so much. He had a big year in '86. He could do no wrong. There were a lot of those songs back in there. A lot of them. It's the kind of stuff now get you arrested just on sight, but back then that was normalized. Just like 8675309 Eon, which I dug that song. It's a lot of creepy following you, crazy songs back then. Crazy. Just a lot of that going on. People had those kind of songs, and that was normalized back then. Yeah. He's underrated as far as I'm concerned because listen, if it wasn't for Luther Vandross, he would have been next in line as that dude. I mean, he has some strong songs. He had some good grooves in his songs, and I thought that he hit, and I thought he had a tight voice, and he, you know, because you were my lady and Rock Me Tonight was tight. Don't want to lose your love. I like some of the bass. I thought Freddie was cool. I like Freddie. I don't want to lose everything. I liked his. I thought he had a good tone. I like to listen to a lot of songs. Jam Tonight is one of my stepping cuts. Nah, but I'm just keeping it 100 though. So I'd say he's underrated. I remember this Italian cat back in the '80s was coming up to me and he said, "Who you got out Luther and Freddie?" Because I was like, "Wow, I was surprised." Well, there's Billy Squires, Billy Paul, um, but of course Billy Joel. That's not even for discussion. I remember that song. Well, no, he wasn't Luther, but he had enough range that he had some songs which could hold. And as far as being in that Lover Man, he's one of the most successful R&B artists ever. You do know that, right? He was right there. No, he wasn't Luther, but he was good. Billy Preston. Billy Preston is kind of like the Forrest Gump of studio musicians. That's a good call. Talk about a cat who had a career that expanded from Ray Charles to the Beatles to the Rolling Stone. I mean, the guy played with almost everybody, did almost every kind of thing, and had a solo career. That dude had like a Forrest Gump career. Yeah, I remember that song in the Kings of New York. Well, they were linked together, but think about it. He's the only one that you could have probably put in that category, though. I mean, in the 80s, you had Alexander O'Neal, James Ingram, and I love James Ingram. James Ingram is one of my favorites, but he didn't have enough solo career. Billy Squire. Take me and my Billy Squire had a solo career too. But I'm not comparing him to nobody. I'm not comparing Freddie. I just said he belonged in the conversation afterwards, though. And he had a real good career. So Freddie was big. And Black World, I mean, Luther had his own place. Let's keep it 100. Because Luther get up there and do a cappella, and that was it. You know, with Luther, we took like 3 or 4 songs and we just loved Luther. Everybody else, depending on who you mentioned, Freddie had to have like 14. There's a big difference. So embracement was completely different. This is great, man. Jesse. I don't know what that means, Red Rum. So that's not off to a good start. Come again with a better one than that. There's nothing cookie cutter in here. Jesse. I remember a buddy of mine actually did that on the keyboard. Andre Simone was as talented as Prince to me because he could play, but he wasn't his writing didn't measure the totality. And as a vocalist, he just didn't quite hit. But his musicianship and his arrangements. Okay, I'm not dealing with no trolls today. No trolling, you know. It's two different questions. Simone Simone had musicality, but just didn't quite, you know. Um Jesse gets the song because it was a catchy enough groove. But, you know. And then this the Andres I look at Andre Simone like I look at Jermaine Jackson. Right there with who their main cats was, but just didn't have that extra to get it all the way out. But could hang, but just couldn't get that other thing out of it. And there was the difference. So it made Michael had what he had and Prince had what he had. But like Andre Simone, just like Jermaine Jackson, could fly out play, talent, etc., etc. But to make it to like the said person, you have to be willing to do that extra and then having that extra. And it just wasn't there. It's close. Close. Because to the people in the no. Trying to tell people who go, well, they don't have the hits and all that. So that's a part of it. But if you understood the musicality and the other stuff, you say, well, they were, you know. So uh, yeah, I think I'm good. One of the best live streams I've had in ages. No, what I was saying is that Andre Simone was the Prince, like Jermaine Jackson was to Michael, and they were close to them. And the music talent, it's just that Prince and Michael had that next level. They had that extra. That's what got them over. That's what I'm trying to say. No, Jermaine was bad. I'm gonna tell you about Jermaine. Uh, I'm gonna get at the She League because Pride and Passion had that another level holding your head program beat. That wasn't my favorite Tomorrow in the Scene song, but I did like thinking about you. But it wasn't my favorite from that album. But you are a Minneapolis head. I know where you're going because I remember all that stuff like yesterday. I used to follow that whole scene, and she could sing pretty good. Tamara was pretty good. She signed a bad deal with Prince. It's funny when he was going through his routine with Warner's, he had her Margie Cox in a bad deal. That's another story. She plays the Mumbles with Michael Bland sometimes. I remember all that. Uh, well, had gave him a hit, but Jermaine, remember he was part of Switch, and he had a, he just never put the concentrated on the solo career. They were cousins anyway, so your kin folks. It was a nice groove, but it didn't really propel him. I mean, after he did that record, he cut. He did "Let Me Tickle Your Fancy," then he did "You Like Me, Don't You," which was our jam. That was the jam around the way by Jermaine. And then he went to Arista, "Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming." He worked with Whitney. So yeah, he did that and "Where Are You Now," but it didn't really. It didn't. It was a hit. It didn't really do anything for Jermaine's career though. Jermaine was a talented dude. Shoot, Jermaine, when you're playing bass and singing as a kid, especially on licks that you don't even play on the record, and you could sing and key, come on now. Jermaine was bad. Jermaine was a talent scout, brought Stephanie Mills, DeBarge, and Switch to Motown. The cat was bad. He could play. So they're cousins. They're double related. That's on the mother's side. They're like double cousins. Just like Tracy Chapman's a cousin of Michael Jackson and Janet too. Um, your name. I can't remember the Switch song. Come and get it. Come and get my love. I was like, come and get it. There was a song, You Need to Be Loved, that Jermaine did on his own. So I was listening to Switch. And if you listen to the vamp, the stylings, um, the chord progressions, that's how Jermaine sounded. Cause like when the way he would play his bass, his tone, and that's how and then I had a conversation with Greg Williams of Switch. And we had this a long time ago, and he confided me. He said that yeah, Jermaine was a ghost member in there because Jermaine Jackson was to Switch as Prince was to the time. People just don't know. She did "Stay the Night," which was from Billy Ocean. She had "Bet You Gonna Need My Love" was my jam. That was from her '84 album, Heart Don't Lie. She was corny. She couldn't sing. She would be incredibly bigger today. She had everything. She had personality. She just didn't have no voice, and she was kind of corny. You know, had the right look, just didn't have no chops and was kind of stiff. Had the look though. And she had half a voice that because I did like "Bet You Gonna Need My Love," and that was my jam by her from '84. Cause that thing was funky. Boom, 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 boom. But she just didn't have no chops though. Reby was the best singer, but Reby had no personality. And she didn't really want it. She could sing, she just didn't really want it. Yeah. I like Very Special. Deborah Laws. I love the Laws family. That was a bad family. Hmm. Yeah. Janet just wanted it though. They do whatever they want with Diddy, but it's not gonna be like what you think because there's a lot of people that are squirming and swirling in their seats now. She sings better, but you see, I'm gonna tell you something. That's a very dicey call because just because you got more talent does not mean that you got the songs. And if you ain't got the songs, who's got the career? See where I'm going with this? It ain't always about the talent. You got to have the songs. The songs, Quincy Jones used to always say that, and I do agree. We could sit here and debate who's more talented, but who's got the songs? Because that's what you remember. You can have all the talent in the world if you don't have the right songs. It's like being a basketball player. If you've watched the NBA, right? James Harden has got as many moves as Steph Curry, but who's got the rings? Who's got the act? Who's got it where it counts the most? Think about it. Pretty much. But she did hit with Jam and Lewis. She found the right balance of material, the right attitude. It just worked. And that's what it is at the bottom at the end of the day. Can you make it work? And one thing I will say about Janet Jackson, not too many people outwork her. That's the best compliment I give anybody. Somebody can be more talented than you, better looking, better this, right? Don't let nobody outwork you. And if somebody outworks you and they better, you ain't got a chance. So as long as you understand where you stand, you won't be, you won't be like a dodo. So, all right, we're getting going today. This is good. 29 votes up. This is great. Except I don't know what her voice is though. You do know she had Ghost in the studio, right? She had Shantae Moore. She had Ashante, and I think my did J Lo had Ghost. She sucks. Oh, Stacey Lattisaw in the blowout. Come on now, it's Stacey in the blowout. And I did like "Come Give Your Love to Me," but Stacey Lattisaw, that voice, that range, she was one of my favorite teenage voices ever. Stacey was bad. Stacey was bringing the flavor. Janet was a cute act back then. I like "Let Your Feeling Flow." He's got probably about 5 cuts that I like. But the problem with Peebo is that he's what I call a good second tier artist. He's good second tier artist. He ain't seen the first, but he ain't average. So he's like right good. And you got people like that. If you can do that, that's a heck of a compliment because that means that you know where you at. Problem with him is I like the white suit orange and the white suit big afro days, but when he started doing um what's the one he had that hit with 40 years ago that was a crossed over? When he crossed over and had the S curl, things changed and he started doing all the Disney songs. So I can't even think of it. Wait, now it was a big hit. But then he still tours. He got a street named after him in Carolina. And I like him. Because he got a few songs that I like. But when he crossed over, he got that S curl and he went it just kind of watered his thing down. But again, he's good, not great, and not average. You know. He's a cat that can sing soul, has a pop it's like one of those things that we like. If ever you're in my arms again, that's the one. Once he did that, then he started doing the Disney stuff, and I got it. The cat wanna eat. I'm gonna live good. Chasing them younger chicks too, because I saw 'em. Oh boy, we got some haters coming on here now. We can't even have a conversation without these trolls coming. Why? Where you come from? People ain't got nothing else better to do but just troll. We have good conversation, and they gotta show their behind. Jack their mama's Wi-Fi or their auntie's Wi-Fi or their cousins or somebody Wi-Fi, and they feel like they want to come here and try to wreck the place up. Can't stand the conversation. It's too good for your soul. You got to go. No trolls. That's right. Because there's no place for that when we having adult conversation, especially when we hadn't even having encounters with some folks. And I have a good head of crew coming in here. We talking, and somebody want to come in here and act all like that. Ain't got no home training, ain't got no manners. If I came on their door like the JWs, they look at me crazy. So I'm looking at them crazier. Because the numbers and everything is great today. This is great. And I can't stand it when people come through, especially when you're wrecking up something that's good. Let's see. Yeah. This has been one of the best live streams I've had in ages. Man, like to bottle this one up. Everything was good. The people coming through, the polls, the likes. I mean, it's just great. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, when I feel that way, which is a compliment to everybody coming through, appreciate you and everybody that's been speaking, because so often in life, it's hard to get that pattern where people are like on consistent, because sometimes they're not, stuff veers off and then it loses stride. But it's been consistent, and I don't like to have that being interrupted or, appropriated by people that just want to troll. Yeah, well, he touched on a lot of stuff. Glad you came through. And Calvin Jackson brought out some, bringing that Minneapolis, like bringing back that era and bringing the British bands and acts, and y'all talking about Detroit, different things. So it's all good. I had started off, Charlene brought some good points. I had some early heads talking too. And so it just kind of went into a flow. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's a bit of both, Charlene, because I think that deep down they got some psychological situations, and also because it's been fashionable. People romanticize it. I mean, look at this United States. They've always romanticized the bottom end of the beast, and it takes on this characteristics, and people romanticize it. So I think it has been glorified, and you are a victim of your circumstances in the sense that you have had to gone through it, what you see, and that's the only way you feel like it could get ahead. And it's a society that seems to justify it, which they have. Good question. Yeah, jazz, that goes runs the gamut. I mean, I go all the way back to Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Jelly Roll Morton, um, uh, Ragtime, Scott Joplin, which I loved a lot. And of course, you get to Miles Davis, Charlie Bird Parker, Jacole Train, Hancock, Chick Corea. Then you get to Return of Forever, and you get to the Crusaders, and just New Shoes and a Blowout. Because I can't wait. Still a cold song. I never cared for Ace of Base. I thought they were catchy, gimmicky, and it was cute, and it kind of came and went. But New Shoes, that thing still bumps. You still play I Can't Wait right now. You still gonna get a head bopping 40 years later. I'm just saying. Ace of Base had bigger hits, but Oscar Peterson had a distinctive keyboard, the piano touch. Very distinctive. Of course, my all-time favorite keyboardist is Joe Sample. I was a huge Crusaders fan. That's my man. But I had respect for Oscar Peterson. He was bad, just like Earl Gardner, also Thelonious Monk. Bad. Yeah, that dun, 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 boom, 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 boom. That was, I mean, that still bumps. That slaps right now. I gotta give it to Muddy Waters because I like Albert King's guitar playing, but Muddy, I gotta go. I gotta go with Muddy. Slight edge to Muddy. Yeah, well, I gave it to Muddy. But Albert King was bad on the guitar though. But you talking about blues, you're going in a more different direction. And of course, I love Benson, George Benson. I love Grant Green and John Coltrane. Yeah, he was bad. Um, Donald Byrd. Bobby Humphries at Whole Mental Brothers Productions and Sound. Um, who else? Mhm. Art Blakely, Art Blakely, Jazz Messengers. I don't. And I got a problem with her family trying to push that agenda. I just think that you need to let that kid grow. You saw what happened with Willow and the whole thing with those kids. It ain't cut for everybody. Pat Metheny is tight. I love his tone. I love his guitar playing. Um, uh, Return to Forever, obviously with Stanley Clark, Chick Corea. I love all that. All that. Billy Cobham, Herbie Hancock stuff, all that. Weather Report, Spiral Gyra, love all that. Jeff Lober, all that. I did like Roy Hargrove and recent, like all that. Most of the stuff. Mm, Can you not hear me? I've been on for 2 hours. It's probably wearing down. Yeah. Can you not? No, it was a blues artist. Blues, 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 blues. Can you not hear me? It means it's probably time for me to go because I've been on so long. The 2 hours probably. Um, I'll probably have to come back tomorrow. Sometimes it works good for me. Sometimes it don't. Yeah, yeah, that's probably what it is. I took the stuff off though, but I don't know. Anyway, it gives me like a couple hours. It's a beret. If you ain't never heard of it, you don't know what it is. It's called a beret. Okay, it probably means I gotta go. So I'll probably come back tomorrow. That's what that means. If you're back on tomorrow, look me up. It only gives me like 2 hours. Yeah, I'll probably be back on. So if you can hear this, I'll be back on tomorrow because I've been on for 2 plus, and sometimes it does that. It's its way of saying that you've been on too long. Appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Pretty much around the same time if you're on. And let's do it. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back, Calvin Jackson. Everybody can hear me, Charlene. Great to see you. Be on about the same time I was on today. So appreciate everybody that came through. Peace out. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. Thank you.